Spoilers for Season 3 up to Episode 9 of Only Murders in the Building. If you haven't seen all these episodes, pause this video, Google who Scott Bakula is, then come back and watch. There were clues, and we found them, and the podcast trio found them. We proved that Donna DeMeo poisoned Ben Glenroy with those smackery cookies. Well, proved is a bit of a strong statement. In fact, I could imagine the court case going something like this. All rise. The state of New York versus Donna DeMeo, accused of the attempted murder of Ben Glenroy. How do you plead? My client pleads not guilty, Your Honor, and we make a motion to dismiss all the charges altogether. What do you mean by that? Your Honor, maybe you could prove that my client read Maxine's review early, but do you have a witness or any video evidence that proves my client shredded the review? No. Does shredding the review make my client guilty? No. Do you have any visual evidence or witnesses who say they saw my client poison the cookie and then put the cookie in Ben's dressing room? No. Your Honor, you've got to dismiss. There's no proof here. And how about this, Your Honor? I read all the interviews of Detective Williams interviewing the suspects, and she seems obsessed with the poisoning of Ben Glenroy, but didn't seem to ask any questions about where anybody was at 12:26 a.m. when Ben was pushed down the elevator shaft. Who's running this, Your Honor? Are there any clues as to who pushed Ben down the elevator shaft? Yes, my client, Miss DeMeo, was wearing an outfit that looks like a big downward pointed arrow, but that doesn't make her guilty. Ben could have approached her son, who he thought gave him the cookie, and accused him of murder, and then Cliff could have pushed him down the elevator. What about this Tobert character? We don't know anything about his relationship. He says Dickie tore up his contract, but Dickie and Ben had had a falling out, right? There's no way Dickie could have torn up Tobert's contract that night. You haven't proven anybody else associated with this play didn't push Ben Glenroy down the elevator shaft. I make a motion to dismiss. Miss DeMeo, you're free to go. What clue have we missed in who pushed Ben down the elevator shaft? Whose hanky is this? We have 1 week to pull those clues together and solve this. Let's solve Only Murders in the Building, Season 3, Episode 9, 30. Having amassed a plethora of clues, suspects, and theories, but no concrete answers about Ben's murder, the trio devised a peculiar method of recreating the final moments of his life. We'll be breaking down each episode for clues, suspects, and red herrings on the hunt to learn who killed Ben Glenroy. Use the timestamps below to jump to the topic or suspect that you want to hear about and skip past stuff you don't want to hear. At the end of this podcast, after your feedback, I'm going to go through all the remaining questions. What questions do we need answers to in episode 10? Huge thank you to you. I should mention this every podcast, but you guys, you listeners, you are Coniacs, every member of the Clue Crew, you are the reason this podcast exists, and you are the best part of it. So please, if you're on YouTube, keep giving us likes, comments, subscriptions. Oh boy, does YouTube need you to subscribe to our channel, these analytics. And if you're on audio podcast, 5-star reviews on the app you use to listen to us, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I found a new review on Apple Podcast, and I'll be reading that later in the feedback. Plus, we need your help. In Season 1, Episode 7, Dr. Grover Stanley complained to Lester about noise he was hearing coming from above his apartment. The next season, what do we learn? That noise could have been coming from secret passageways in the Arconia. Now in Season 2, we learned about the elevator having problems. What happens in Season 3? The elevator is out, and Ben Glenroy is pushed down the elevator shaft. Has there been a clue this season, Season 3, which is going to point us towards a plot point of Season 4? If so, what is it? Where do we need to be looking? What do you guys think? What clue have they dropped that's going to be a hint to what's going to happen in Season 4? Let's hear it. Let's review the opening credit Easter egg. There's the trio on the roof. There's a trio in the window as well. This trio is everywhere. They're jumping around a bit like they jumped around in the episode to everywhere they needed to go to solve this mystery. Now in our Let's Solve series, we don't really talk too much about the hilarious jokes or the fun camaraderie or the relationships too much, if at all. This season, season 3, I've said it and I think it's true. This season has had better whodunit cluing than any of the previous 2 seasons. After last week's episode, episode 8, I was looking through IMDb and I noticed Peter Swanson co-wrote last week's episode Sits Probe. And I thought, wait a minute, is that Peter Swanson? And it is. It's the author, Peter Swanson, who wrote the book The Kind Worth Killing. This book has rave reviews on Goodreads. It is a very popular book. It's not really a whodunit, it's more of a thriller, but it does have very tight plotting. And I wonder, by adding Peter Swanson to the writer's room this year, if perhaps that's one of the reasons why the clues are so great. Now, ignoring the whodunit part of this show, though, I have received some feedback like this from Mark. The romantic angle and the show tunes has run Only Murders in the Building into the ground. There are too many people in it. I'm trying to watch episode 3 of season 3, and it made me give up. A user with the handle Lycan wrote, "Season 3 has been a letdown, to be honest. Seasons 1 and 2 were quite good, but with a title like Only Murders in the Building, it doesn't inspire longevity. The story just becomes rather silly and a stretch." And finally, Lily wrote, "I wonder if the Only Murders in the Building producers purposely made this season a slow burn to mirror the play, Death Rattle, because this one episode, episode 8, completely erased all the dissatisfaction from past episodes for me." Okay, that's only a handful of people. We've gotten so much feedback from people who love this season. But this is an open discussion. What do you guys think? What do you think of season 3? Because I love whodunit cluing and stuff, I think it's been really good. Maybe I haven't laughed as much as in previous seasons, but there have been a good handful of laughs. Now, looking at it as a whole, I do think maybe this season needed some danger in the middle episodes. Season 1, Ollie and Mabel were held captive by Theo and Teddy. And in fact, there were almost 2 mysteries. What happened to Zoe in the past, as well as who killed Tim Kono. So season 1 had a lot of kind of story to go through. Season 2, once again, had danger with the glitter guy chasing Mabel, and then there was the evil person in the secret passageway. That gave it some juice, gave it some life, gave it some danger. With season 3, well, we had sandbags falling in the theater, but it didn't really feel like any of our heroes were truly in danger, so maybe this season needed it. I've still enjoyed it, but hey, once again, this is you guys, the Clue Crew, the Arconiacs. Tell me what you've thought of season 3. I have a feeling the answers and fun we get into in episode 10 is either going to make this one of your favorite seasons, or maybe it's one of your least favorite. I've really enjoyed it. I'd probably rank them 1, 3, 2 based so far. What do you guys think? Write down on the YouTube comments, reach out to us at DoublePHQ, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, Facebook.com/DoublePHQ. You can always email us, hello@doublepmedia.com. Before we run down the suspects, let's see what episode 9 taught us about the victim, actor Ben Glenroy. Every Thursday, Ben would disappear for hours to go see his 5 whores, Trixie, Marigold, Emerald, Dot, and May. These women were seamstresses at the Snitches Get Stitches fabric shop. They helped Ben make all those hankies. As terrible as Ben was, he did know he treated people poorly. He really wanted his ladies to come see his show because he never felt so alone. On a message to them, he said, "I'm surrounded by people I can't trust. They're all out to get me." As we suspected, Ben was talking to a death rattle decorated cookie. He ate the cookie in one bite, and then he himself wrote the effing pig on the mirror. Now let's run down the suspects, and technically, again, I don't think you can rule any of them out. Loretta. It's probably not Loretta, who looks great in orange, let's be honest. And she's been in jail for 5 days already. Where are the face tattoos? What if they're twin Lorettas? We have to compare the tattoos. Loretta encouraged her son Dickie to leave Ben. She was worried about Ben's arm with these Benny bites. Loretta was giving Dickie cortisone cream for the stress. She encouraged Dickie to make a list of bullet points to say for when he left Ben. Ben was furious. "Stay out of our lives. Stay the F away from my brother. You weaseled your way into this production." That is a good motive for Loretta to have killed Ben. Where was Loretta at 12:26 a.m.? We don't know. Could that have been Loretta's hanky? It could have been. Donna DeMeo. On opening night, Donna bought Schmackery's cookies for everybody. Her son Cliff, his tummy was in knots. Did he eat a cookie? Did he eat a poisoned cookie? Why was his stomach in knots? Probably just nerves. Ben, he got the bad review. He's complaining. He's not concerned about the show. He's complaining about his friends not being in their seats. When Donna is trying to pep up Ben, she tells him, be nice to Ben, aka be nice to yourself. Do whatever it takes to go out on that stage. While there's no technical proof that I've seen that Donna did poison Ben, because she knew the review ahead of time, I think the show is telling us Donna did do this first poisoning. Is there proof that Donna pushed Ben down the elevator shaft? Not that I can tell. She could have done it. Would he have given her a hanky? What do you think? Is Donna guilty of both crimes? Call me crazy, but don't you think next week's episode could feature a scene of Detective Williams saying, bad news, Donna was at this place at 12:26. She couldn't have pushed Ben down the elevator. Cliff DeMeo, Donna's son. Cliff is boycotting global politics until everybody just gets along. Cliff was the one who showed Ben the cookies that his mom ordered. Ben, who was fasting until after the show, did want to smell the cookies. So you would once again assume that if Ben realized he was poisoned by a cookie, he would have blamed Cliff. Ben keeps getting Cliff to check on his 5 guests for opening night. Would Ben have given Cliff a death rattle hanky? Probably. Seemed like he made plenty. We talked last week about our theory that some characters are really for plot and emotional stakes, and some are for light laughs. Cliff is an odd character in that he does have emotional stakes, but it's all for his mother. Even in this episode, episode 9, he really is all laughs and all silliness. Could Cliff have been confronted about that cookie and pushed Ben down the elevator? He could have. What do you think? Dickie, Ben's brother. Dickie seems to admit that Ben stole CoBro, but he does give an odd look here. But if we believe his interview with Detective Williams, Ben said that he stole CoBro. Dickie hid the blood work so nobody would see all the drugs in Ben's system. Dickie says he went out dressed in the CoBro costume and slept on a stoop. The fight that caused so much trouble. Dickie was furious that on opening night Ben showed up late. Ben read the note. He found out Dickie was quitting. Ben and Dickie fight. Ben is a no-bro because he doesn't have a brother anymore. In this version of the fight, we don't see Ben tell Dickie that he was dead to him, which Dickie said to Loretta last week in episode 8. Gotta be honest, I kinda do hope it's Dickie. I don't think so, but I would love it if this is all a fake out and Dickie is the killer. He did buy that bloody hanky. What do you think? Do you still have Dickie on your suspect list? Tobert! For a documentarian, Tobert really hadn't been filming much. He let Ben get away from him all the time. Tobert should have been filming at the theater on opening night when Ben showed up. He should have been following Ben around, but he wasn't there. Ben is not in a good space, tells Tobert to F off. Tobert told Mabel that Dickie ended his contract opening night. We don't see that. Do we need to? Do you still suspect Tobert? Stage manager KT. And I'm going to go ahead and say this is one of the craziest things I saw online this week. People have dug deep, and a user by the name of NerdyD and some others on Reddit have found out that KT's last name is Noblower. KT Noblower. Blower. Her last name includes Blau, like director Jerry Blau. Does it mean anything? Probably not, but crazy, huh? KT, as stage manager, says all these actors need to be in 30 minutes before curtain. Ben was late. Ben didn't like KT's tone. Could Ben have confronted KT about her tone again and she pushed him down the elevator shaft? Certainly. Once again, I don't think so, but we have no proof that he didn't. Brilliant Howard Francis Morris. On opening night, Howard heard that noise. He realized it was the paper shredder, and Howard put it together. It was Maxine's review in the paper shredder. Could Howard have approached Ben and said, "Oh, thank you so much for this hanky," and then Ben been rude and Howard pushed him down the elevator? Certainly. It's all possible. Again, I don't think so, but where are the clues to who pushed Ben down the elevator? Oliver Putnam. 5 days after a heart attack, 5 days after having a stent put in, Oliver is back up and on the case, carrying a ladder. Charles, carry the ladder for Oliver. Is there any way this relationship will end well? What do you think? Charles Hayden Savage. Charles can't cry twice in one day. And that's not surprising. Once that dam has burst, you can't stop those tears. Now Charles, he was really tough to Joy, but maybe this is the worst. Charles allows Mabel to run around in town in Joy's wedding dress. Oh, shameful Charles. 30-year-old Mabel Mora. #old. Did you guys freak out at this creepy podcast triplet of babies? Oh, horrific. Mabel was smart. She figured out it was the cookies. Way to go, smart Mabel. Now let's get to your feedback, and I do want to point out one user with the handle DCSMoot, or maybe it's DC Smoot. They always leave great comments like this where they just wrote, comment. That's wonderful. All comments help the evil YouTube algorithm. We love comments. Hey, who do you think killed Ben Glenroy? Go down and let us know in those comments. For everybody listening on audio podcast, you guys mean the world to us as well. We got this great review on Apple Podcasts from somebody with the handle BSB Styles, who wrote 5 stars. I finished the first season of the TV show Silo and wanted more information on the story for the show. I was watching your Only Murders in the Building Let's Solve videos on YouTube. Now I'm binging your podcast. Love the podcast. Love your silly sense of humor. Thank you so much, BSB Styles. We got this great feedback from Chris, who on Twitter is at Mr. C.A. Perry. These are photos of him going to the Gooseberry experience in New York City. Look at this. Look at these videos. Wow. Ooh, somebody called Joy. We're going to need makeup for the red mark on his face. Now, Billy is making a prediction that Cliff or his mom killed Ben. And Billy thinks, I think Howard's cousin is the answer that Oliver's gonna need after these producers are found guilty of killing Ben. Good thought, Billy. Madeline wrote, did anyone notice Dickie and Ben's dad was wearing a red coat, like Jerry had hanging upstairs in his theater room? I think it was him. Marissa wrote, I just finished episode 8 and I have a theory. Kimber did it. A huge clue in episode 8 was the detective mentioned Kimber played Roxy Hart, Roxy the killer, the murderer who murdered her lover in Chicago. I think to continue the parent and child trope that Kimber was pregnant with Ben's baby, but he denied it and forced her to have an abortion, threatening her career. Tobert could have helped cover everything up. Whoa, Marissa going deep, dark, and all that jazz in her theory. Nick wrote, here's something I've noticed about Only Murders, and I'm sure you have too. The killer has always been in the first few episodes of the season, and they've seemingly have different goals than solving a murder. Jan first appeared in the 3rd episode with her bassoon, and she had a concert to prepare for. In season 2, evil killer Poppy, what did we first see her in season 2 trying to do? Trying to get a raise on Cinda's show. These characters also started appearing more often as the show started to solve itself. Which characters have appeared in the first few episodes but now are seeming to appear more often? The producers. In episode 3, their focus wasn't solving a crime, it was to redo the show, and now they're becoming more prominent characters. Call this the structure theory or storyboard theory, but I think Donna was a mother protecting her son from a bad show, so she poisoned Ben for the publicity. Then, out of anger for still not knowing his name, Cliff pushed Ben down the elevator shaft. A wild theory, but I think these two producers definitely play a part. Min Carroll wrote, it's Tobert. The value of Tobert's documentary would go through the roof as it becomes invaluable as part of the actor's final days. Loretta as a suspect is a red herring. It's blatantly the plot from the movie Gosford Park of her protecting her son. Patricia wrote, I think Ben told Dickie that he was going to fake his death, and Dickie didn't like it. Ben went ahead and faked his death. Dickie resented Ben and then killed him, intentional or not. And finally, let's go crazy on these theories. Mary wrote, the theater critic Maxine did it. She's Tobert's mother, and Oliver is Tobert's father. Maxine's motive is that Oliver doesn't even remember their night together because of his druggy past. Oliver is the actual target. Ben was just in the wrong place at the wrong time and hilariously almost killed then actually killed. Maxine was responsible for Oliver's past splash catastrophe. I got a couple people thinking that the killer could be Maxine, and one thing people said is when Charles was singing the infamous Pickwick Triplets song, he says, I pick you, and he points straight forward. Well, who was sitting in the middle of the theater, straight forward? Critic Maxine. I'll be honest, I don't see it, but all your theories are fun. Okay, let's get to all the questions that we hope will be answered in the final episode. Honestly, some of these I don't think will be answered, we can just assume, but I'm gonna ask them and I'm gonna hope that we get an answer. Why did movie star Ben Glenroy want to be on Broadway? And in this particular play? Who wrote Death Rattle? Why would Donna hire Oliver after all his failures? Especially after she fired Jerry? Who took Ben's mangoes? Do we need to pay attention to Ben's mangoes? Who called on the phone during the party in Oliver's apartment? Who pushed Ben down the elevator shaft? Was he pushed? Whose death rattle hanky was in Ben Glenroy's hand? Was it put there to frame someone who worked on Death Rattle? Did someone lock Charles in the prop closet, or was it an accident? Will Death Rattle Dazzle be a successful play? Which of the Pickwick Triplets did it? Who of the crew could commit this crime? Might a little brat make a mommy go splat? Did it? Okay, stop. I'll only do it if we get 6,000 subscribers. What if none of the Pickwick Triplets did it? Who did it then? Will Dickie learn that Loretta is his birth mother? Does Dickie already know that Loretta is his birth mother? Will Mabel end up with Tobert? Will Oliver and Loretta patch things up? Will Mabel end up living back in the Arconia? Or is she out of the building for good? What will be teased for Season 4? I know I've forgotten some questions. I always forget questions, and you guys are smart enough to give me the questions I forgot down in the comments or on social media. Let's hear them. Next week, we're going to review which of these answers got resolved, what we got right, what we got wrong, what we need to be looking for in Season 4. And we're going to be back next week with Season 3, Episode 10, Opening Night. Charles, Mabel, and Oliver race to entrap the killer on opening night. As the musical thrills its Broadway audience, the trio brave further twists and turns from behind, above, and all around the stage. Clue Crew, Arconiacs, Ollie Mabel fans, Bloody Mabel fans, everybody, be back here next week and let's celebrate Season 3 and look forward to Season 4.